Alright, I'm sure everybody has heard the news about Ja Morant being filmed on Instagram Live with a handgun for the second time in 2 months. And is he wrong? Yes. Is he stupid? Yes. Is he immature? Yes. And should he be held accountable? Yes, very much so. From all the YouTube videos that I've watched about this situation with Ja today, we as a society want to hold his friends accountable. We want to hold his father or his family accountable, and rightfully so. They should hold some type of responsibility for after the first incident when he was filmed with the gun in his hand, by making sure that he doesn't put himself in the same predicament, in the same position ever again, if he wants to be seen as a role model and move forward as a potential face of the NBA. Now, with my video, I do want to offer up a different perspective of what I think may be Ja Morant's mentality behind having these handguns and putting himself in these types of predicaments. You know, I grew up in South Central Watts, California, born and raised by a single mother. And my mother wanted the best for all three of her children. So she put us in Catholic schools, and we also lived in a gated apartment complex. I wouldn't call it the projects, even though we did live in the ghetto in the hood, but compared to other projects when there's open space to run in and out, we lived in a gated community where there was only one way in and one way out, and also had security guards walking around all throughout the day and night. And up until she died when I was 17, I was raised a pretty sheltered kid. I was raised as a schoolboy, if you will, the backpack type of kid, you know. And after she died, things kind of changed from in my life, slowly but surely, to the point where my friends from high school started to hang around. Uh, well, I wouldn't say all my friends, but one one or two of my friends in particular was very interested in being around gang culture, gang members, things like that. Even though he himself didn't grow up in the neighborhood, didn't grow up in the hood, but he was infatuated with that lifestyle and wanted to be a part of it because it was appealing to him, coming from a sheltered background. And so for myself, when I would come in close encounters with some of these gang members, you know, I never had any, I personally never had any issues or trouble with, or any bad situations happen with gang members, simply for the fact because I was always myself. And a lot of people in the media don't like to shine that light on gang members. If you're not portraying to be something that you're not, 9 times out of 10, those gang members will respect you and will like you and take a liking to you. However, whenever whenever a gang member would tell me, "Oh, you grew up as a square," or "You a square," that bothered me to my core because I didn't see myself as a square. I didn't feel that I was, and so I would do certain things to show or prove otherwise, not necessarily toting handguns or things like that, or trying to perpetrate some gang member lifestyle. However, I will say that the things that I did do to prove or show that I wasn't a square have detrimented my life for the worse, and it's led me to where I sit right now today as I record this video. And so it's just my thought that maybe Ja Morant isn't trying to prove that he's gangster or that he's hard to anybody but himself. And because, not to say that he doesn't appreciate the way he was brought up, but when you have the privilege and when you are blessed to, like for my mother to enroll us in Catholic school, I appreciated it then, and I've always appreciated how it impacted my personality in a way. And you're trying to prove to yourself, for some reason, that just because you were privileged and fortunate enough to grow up in a a two parent household, that within our black community, you know, when you grow up in a two-parent household, or when you're privileged enough to go to a certain type of school, those who are less fortunate sort of take a disliking to you, or they like to make fun of you in a sense. With all that being said, Ja Morant has made it all the way to the NBA to be a franchise player for the Memphis Grizzlies. He's privileged, he's blessed, he's fortunate to tell a story that myself and hundreds and thousands of other young black men who grew up in the inner cities, who grew up in the hood, won't be able to tell. And like I said, he's getting ready to mess this up if he continues down this path. Now, what do I think his punishment should be? I think, well, if David Stern was still the commissioner, I feel like he would have gave a very harsh punishment to Ja Morant after the first time he was caught with a gun in his possession. That way he wouldn't be able to put himself in a predicament like this again. And Ja Morant also needs to look within himself and truly realize what he has going for himself in his life, and to check himself, because if you continue down this path, you're not only gonna lose all the fame, the fortune, the opportunity, and the money that you have afforded to you. You may lose something way more important, like your life. Because gang culture, especially when you're trying to portray to be something that you're not, you will come across the wrong people who will test that. And those situations may not turn out so well for you. But I am praying that he and I get ourselves together